Hello and welcome to the SME Focus show powered by MTDCNC. I'm Mark Weymouth from the Sensor Specialist Plus Automation. This podcast, as usual, aims to highlight aspects of UK manufacturing and topics of interest to SMEs. So my guest today is Sam Hufton, Managing Director and co-founder of the digital marketing agency Pull the Pin, based in Birmingham. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Mark.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Well, apart from the rain out there, I'm doing well. We've had a good summer until today.
Okay, I'm looking at the sea and it's sunny. Maybe it wasn't sunny earlier, but yeah, the joys of the...
We've just had storms out there, so yeah, I wish I was down there with you then.
Or maybe not. Right, I'm next to a golf course, so that'll feed into some part of the conversation today. Okay. When I sort of research the guests for this show, I often find it interesting to consider a match between what they put as their first job and their current job, and sometimes that gives a hint to a change of direction that I can talk about and ask them about, or logical career progression. And I have to this week, therefore, congratulate you on having the most interesting first job title, because you described yourself as a golf professional. Now, most interesting job title previously was held by Charlotte Horrobin on episode 244 when she said she'd been a part-time sheepherd, but golf professional is up in the ante a bit. And full credit to you, you validated your title by saying you did 2 seasons on the Euro Pro Tour with 2 top 10 finishes and 3 top 20 finishes. So before we start talking about marketing or any of that stuff, can you tell us about your golf career?
Yeah, it's a bit different to the marketing world, I can tell you that.
Good.
I was fortunate as a kid. I always talk about it. I wasn't that academic, and golf was sort of my life. And at the age of 14, I was best in England, best in Great Britain. At the age of 15, got an England team, found out I had a back problem, which is a growing disease in my back. Kind of made my golf game not very good for the next 3 years, and finishing school, not doing very well because not being academic. I grew out of the back problem and then got the opportunity to qualify for the Euro Pro, came 5th out of 180 guys. And I was like, oh, I've got a chance to turn pro and try and play. So I did it for 2 years. It was an incredible 2 years, but I did it in 2008, 2009, when we all know it was pretty tough out there. So trying to get sponsorship was pretty difficult. I ended up coming out with, I treated it as my uni degree, 15 grand on a credit card, and didn't make it. And I just knew that I'd spend the next 5-8 years to pay that off like you would do with a uni degree. The only problem was that obviously it was academic. I didn't really have any jobs to go into unless I wanted to stay in golf, which I didn't really want to do. So yeah, I ended up leaving golf world and did door-to-door sales, which made me realize it was quite tough out there. I think that was one of the hardest roles I could ever go into. And I remember doing it in October, November, December, wearing my golf waterproofs in the rain, cold, wet. And it definitely woke me up for the real world of a working career. But yeah, that kind of just led me into, off the back of that, I had an opportunity I applied for multiple roles, and one was a BDE in a digital marketing agency. And from there, I just grew my skill set in the marketing world. So yeah, it's a bit extreme going from golf into marketing, but that's how I fell into it.
Okay, so it wasn't looking for sponsors that made you appreciate marketing. It was walking the doors in a recession, trying to flog stuff that made you realize there are better things to do than walk the doors in the rain.
Yeah, I think it was, but I think probably I was writing letters, trying to market, and probably some way without me knowing it, all connected. So probably did without me thinking about it. But when I look at it, I've always sort of loved marketing, technology world. So I think it just fell into place that way, really, without me knowing about it properly.
Okay. So before we start talking about work, I normally at some point try and pick a bit of music to give a time reference to a date. So you transitioned from that wonderful aspiration of golf to the harsh reality of work back in April 2010. So I looked that up, and we had This Ain't a Love Song by Scouting for Boys, Scouting for Girls even. And they were knocked down to number 2 by Usher and will.i.am with OMG. And you pointed out when we spoke that also it was Phil Mickelson's last Masters tournament. So hopefully 2010 is in the mind of a few people, either with some terrible music earworms, or maybe they can think back to some good golf. So April 2010, and you mentioned that you got your first job in a marketing company. So can you tell us a little bit about really how you fell in love with marketing, I guess?
Yeah, I guess for me, it was the agency at the time kind of did website builds, SEO and PPC. I came off doing door-to-door sales and I did a kind of few months at a cold calling business for public sector events. So I got put into this role, which was sat in front of the MD, team of 8 people there. I sat in front of the MD and I got given a list of 2,000 companies in the West Midlands areas. And I essentially had to call them from A to Z and generate leads. So I had to learn quite quickly about marketing, but SEO, PPC, and website builds, and start to create conversations with these people. And over 2.5 years, it built. It took 3-6 months hard graft to really get my head around SEO and PPC, because that was quite new to me in 2010, and website builds as well. And more people speak to, the more chance you get to obviously practice what you preach and what you talk about and learn that experience. But through that period, it just built and be able to create lots of opportunities. And before I knew it, the business was growing nicely. And yes, it wasn't all down to me, but I was able to create opportunity meetings. And before I knew it, we were a team of 16, 17 people in this agency. I was the only salesperson, and you learn a lot going out to those initial meetings, chatting to people, being with developers, being with the SEO, being with the PPC people. You start to learn quite a lot, and my love for it just came off the back of that, where I started to really understand how they did it, and I kind of had a desire, want to learn it as well. So it wasn't just about let's just get a deal done. That desire to learn all about it just fueled me, and still does today, really.
Okay. You mentioned that you're sort of very keen on technology, and you're just talking there about sort of the passion for marketing itself and understanding it as well as just blocking it as a product. Is that one of the drivers to sort of you founding Pull the Pin agency, your agency in 2021? Was it this sort of combination of thinking you could do it better with technology, or what inspired you to go out into the crazy world of starting a business?
I think for me, the big thing that I always talk about in marketing, especially, is there's fundamentals of marketing that's never changed in 50 years. You go and watch the Mad Men documentaries and series on TV and Netflix and stuff like that. The fundamental marketing doesn't change, and storytelling is a big part of it. Brand storytelling, and then how you distribute it. And I think digital has really changed that in the last 20 years and how it come about. And I think people have got lost in how you tell that story and how you position yourself as a business. And I think where I'm very passionate about is that where I create Pull the Pin and where we talk about is get the fundamentals of the brand right, and then don't try and do every channel right. It's just going, okay, how do you tell that story in the right way to those right channels on who you're trying to be, and be amazing at doing that. And as much as we focus about being a full service digital marketing agency, our role really is about how we go into those brands, and whether they're a £1 million turnover or £1 billion turnover businesses, we're going into them and going, right, how can we support you to tell that story in the right way on the right channels to get your message out there? And I think for me, if you're not an agency that's always keeping up with the changes, so especially with AI at the minute, there's lots of stuff that we're doing within that and helping clients streamline sales and marketing using AI. If you're not staying at the forefront of marketing, 80% of it is that foundation piece, but 20% of it is always being forward thinking. And if you're not doing that, you'll get left behind as a marketing agency, but as a business as well. So we try and really make sure that 20% help drive us through and drive us forward as an agency.
Okay. What were your initial sort of hopes and aims when you founded the business, and 5 years later or 4 years later, how have things changed? Maybe because of technology, maybe because of the economy, or maybe just because you've changed your mind and you've come up with something else. So what did you sort of think you were setting out doing, and what are you doing?
It's kind of bonkers one when I look back on it. And I think I'm probably like a lot of business owners out there. You set something up and you kind of go and you forget about what you've done. And it's one of my goals this year to try and reset and enjoy those important moments that you achieve. And I think when I set the agency up, I kind of helped build an agency for someone before, and then went in and helped build their digital team at another agency. And I've kind of, when I came into this agency, I kind of was like, I know I've done it before, let's just do it for myself. And we've kind of built the agency, grew very quickly in the first 2 years. But when we first set it up, I left my role 6 months prior to that. And then it was January 2021. And in that Christmas period, we then get told we went into our last ever lockdown. So I was kind of sitting there on my first day in January being like, oh, this feels a bit weird. Like, have I made the right decision? And it was like, oh, what's going on here? So spent 3 months in lockdown, didn't we? Which was the worst lockdown probably we had, in the cold and the wet and stuff like that. And it got us thinking where we are. We kind of got the business. We had a few clients on board and the foundation there for me to be able to leave with the retainers we had. But it was half the salary I had before, and it was, okay, we're taking a big gamble here. And at the same time, my second child was due in March, came end of January, 6.5 weeks early. So that first month was a bit of a whirlwind first month. But I think we had 2 really good years. But like anyone knows in business, you'd never really do that. And after the second year, that third year was a tough year for us. And that was kind of the year before last. We grew quite quickly, and then we had one of the biggest clients drop away, and at the same time the world was tough out there, so we kind of had a bit of plateau there. And last year, similar in a way, but in this year we've had tremendous growth and gone again, so it's really exciting from there. But I think, as I talk to any business owner out there, you never do that. You kind of have your ups and downs, and I think that third and fourth year for us was really good years to sort of reset where we were and sort of get ourselves aligned where we are. And kind of going back to the question, kind of in the first 2 years we grew quickly and we did a lot for a lot of people, and we worked with different brands, whether we set up Daily Star and Daily Mirror's TikTok and did the first 3 months setting their TikTok up. We worked with Leon Restaurants, but after 3 years we were like, actually what we're really good at is working with B2B businesses and delivering that full service, full strategy, and understanding how we support marketing managers, marketing directors, or business owners how to deliver that strategy. And it was like that, doing this element of whether it's the TikTok or the B2C stuff, it didn't quite, we're trying to do too much for everyone. And like any business owner knows out there, we kind of realized where our focus was and where we wanted to be. And that was kind of the pain point, is digital's grown so much for all these brands. And they can't hire multiple different people in different roles to deliver it. So we kind of sit there and can come in and be that extension to that marketing team or business owner and deliver that marketing strategy or marketing deliverables, whether it's SEO, social media, or wherever else it'll sit.
Okay. So with this podcast being called SME Focus, I guess that's giving a clue as to where the focus is, so SMEs. So can I ask you a little bit on your thoughts on marketing for SMEs? And in preparation for this show, we talked a little bit about CRMs. So I guess if I can ask you sort of the 2 issues, marketing, and wrap it up into sort of talk about CRMs and recommendations you've got, but particularly regarding the SME side of the world.
Yeah, it's we've got a lot of SMEs in manufacturing industry, and into a few other sectors as well. And whether it's SMEs, say just under 1 million turnover, up to 5 million turnover, they're all different levels in where they sit, and some fast-growing companies. We work with companies that are 45 million turnover, and they've got within the first 5 years, and they're still on a spreadsheet and not a CRM. So I always say to everyone out there is that you see these companies that can grow quite quickly and not even get their CRM in place, but then they realize why we've gone too quickly and you haven't got the foundations in place. And there's some £1 million turnover businesses that have got incredible foundations in place. So I think it changes depending on where they sit and where the foundations are and who they're trying to get to. But when I talk about CRMs, there's so many out there. I think 7,500 different CRMs you can use. A lot of people know HubSpot, Salesforce, but you got other ones out there, whether it's Pipedrive or SalesMate, or Insightly or Zoho. And I always say to people out there, there's lots of CRMs. They can all work differently for who you are and what you're trying to achieve as a business. So don't get hooked up on that you have to be HubSpot or Salesforce or where it needs to be. We work with a lot in HubSpot, don't get me wrong, and a few clients Salesforce and a few clients on all of other platforms out there. It's ultimately the fundamentals of how you manage a CRM is the most important part. And then whichever CRM you find is right for your business, you use that. But it's build the fundamentals right. So what I always say to people is, within a CRM, it's one, get the CRM right for who you need it to be, but you build lists. So for me, most companies will just have one long list of CRM people. So one example I use is that SME that we had. There's 768 contacts on a spreadsheet, and out of that, none of them were separated, and they worked in sort of the property world and helped build new houses. And what we spoke to them about was, let's build it out, and you can have all your clients in there. You can have all the people who do, say, the plastering, the insides of the houses. Then you've got the landscape inside. You've got all these different contacts. Let's split them in, and we end up having 22 different lists of all these different suppliers or clients that they work with. That allowed us to then be able to send out relevant emails to those people, or you can go out to everyone. But suddenly, once you get that structure right, you can then really take ownership of your CRM and really nurture the people in the right way to get the most business for you, or nurture those clients you've got to get more business from them, or keep them happy in certain ways. And what tends to be the problem is, we just end up having one long list. You don't know what to do with it. Then you don't email out to people. Then you don't know how to nurture them and go from there. And you can go up to other levels where you can really get a bit geeky, where you can start to really nurture and lead score every person. So then you can say, okay, every time they come on a website, they get points. Every time they get emails, open them, or look at your case studies or proposals or quotes or whatever it could be. You could put score points against it all. So then you can start to really understand, okay, how important is that person, and how close are they to doing a deal with us? And an example I always use, the recruitment client that we work with, that we started to nurture, and after 2 years, we were nurturing 3,000 companies and give or take 13,000 candidates. So we could nurture them. So we knew that if a candidate came to the website, looked at 12 different roles in that financial service industry or insurance, but didn't apply, the head of that department would get notified, and they could contact that person. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I was looking, but actually I didn't apply because I didn't really know. I'm a bit not sure. Suddenly they're able to get hold of them before they've applied, and they can nurture them through to finding that new role. So the CRM aspect of everything that we talk about with SMEs is, it can be a minefield, but it's kind of having to, I always just do layers and talk about foundation layers. It's like, one, get a CRM in place and build the list that you want and understand what list you need. And then from there, you can then start to build foundations on top of those lists on how you nurture those people, and then add things on like lead score and all this sort of thing, tracking when they come on the website. You can start to add those things on. But I try and stress to anyone, the biggest opportunity in the next 5-10 years is, people talk about AI, but you only can be any good with AI if you've got good data. So if you can own your own CRM in a really good way, that's your own data, you're only going to benefit your own business to get more business and manage your current clients in a good way if you get a good CRM in place.
Okay. If it's not putting you on the spot too much, what CRM would you suggest for somebody who, not a small business, a business, somebody who has a single list, they haven't got it segmented into markets or types of person or any segmentation, they've just got a long list, and maybe they send out stuff to the long list, but the hit rate's not that good because, as you said, the long list can be customers and suppliers, which are different beasts. So where should they go to sort of dabble and maybe fall in love with the idea of a CRM working, as opposed to just a list?
Yeah, I would say I'd probably give 3, because I hate always saying 1, because sometimes 1 isn't just perfect. But straight away, I think HubSpot offer a starter package, which 50 to 70 quid a month is a really good starter package to start on for people. What I always say is good. The only thing with HubSpot, I always say, and manage expectations, is it can go up quite quickly in cost if you're not careful. The next one is a new one that's come around but grown very quickly in the last 2-3 years, and they're called SalesMate. They offer a lot with what they can do, and probably a fifth of the price of where HubSpot sits at. And the last one is Active Campaign, which is a good one as well. And that kind of goes into a bit of email nurturing as well. But those three are kind of three very different ones at different levels. But I think if people go and look at those three, they're always good ones to start your foundation off when you're looking for a CRM, is go and look at one of those three.
Okay, I guess also for people, if they go looking at those three and they're different, it might help people think about what they've got and what they want to do as well. You know, the hardest problem with starting hard work, like getting a good CRM, is finding the motivation to do it. So you kind of got to understand what's in it for you. So maybe look at those three will give people a bit of excitement of why they should do it.
100%. And I think it's, I always say they're three different style ones. So it gives people a bit of foundation to look at. And like I said here, with over 7,000 CRMs out there, you can just get lost and then not do anything. So I think those three just give a good benchmark to go and look at.
Okay. So when you were talking about different types of people, my mind wandered, maybe because I spent too much time on it. My mind wandered to sort of LinkedIn, and I know you do quite a bit of work with personal branding and things on LinkedIn. So a bit of a jump away from CRMs, but can I ask you to share some thoughts on personal branding?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it kind of links back to CRM as well, what we talk to clients about. I think we're a big advocate of personal brand, and I talk about it linking back to when I set the agency up. I had 3 to 4 months where I was stuck at home and couldn't meet anyone in lockdown. And LinkedIn played such a valuable part of us generating new business and bringing clients on board back in 2021 and helped us grow in that first 3-4 months, even though we were in lockdown. And I think LinkedIn has become a very powerful tool. And the way I just explain it, I simplify it to everyone, is that LinkedIn is like a new version of going to an event, a networking event. Essentially, posting is like you speaking at an event. The connection part is you going to meet everyone there and then adding them into your CRM. It's you connecting with them. And the third part, the community part that I talk about in LinkedIn, which is commenting on people and what they do, is like you walking around the event and just going to chat to people and go, hey, how are you? Who are you? And start to do that. And then you get on their radar. So I think where I talk about LinkedIn is very much you've got connections, creating the post, and the community part. And all of us we don't all do it well in different ways. But the way I talk about it, and just relate back to me, but we do this a lot with clients and manufacturing clients, a lot of business owners and manufacturers, is very much, we focus on, for me, what we did in the last 3 years took me from 4,500 connections on LinkedIn to 14,500, but they're all marketing managers, marketing directors, and business owners. What it means is that if I start to get all those people in my connections, so when I post, they start to see what I talk about, that becomes really valuable, because that's like saying, oh, you got 1 million followers on social, really, because a lot of times out of those 1 million followers, only 5% of them are relevant, even 2% of them are relevant, because they're here, there, and everyone. So what LinkedIn is powerful about is you can go and connect with anyone in the world, and you can post and they can see what you're talking about. Most of the time, you have to go and follow someone's page. Why would someone follow Paul the Pinner or any other business? It's really hard to get them to do that. So if you could go and connect with anyone in the world who you could potentially do business with because they're the job titles that you want, that's so valuable. But if you don't post on there, they're never going to know who you are. Yes, you could DM them, but DM can be really hard because there's a lot of sales rubbish out there that I talk about. So you've got to kind of make sure that you become a bit of a thought leader in your industry. So talk really like honestly and what you're passionate about. And we do that for clients. And what we do is we help shape it. And clients are busy running their own business. So what we try to do as an agency is we do the personal branding bit, which is we connect with people every month, 100 to 300 people every month that are the right job titles for them. But at the same time, try and create 3 posts a week that is making them a thought leader and go, we're really good at what we do. This is what we believe in. But 8% of it is about the business and being that thought leader, but 20% of it is being personal. So, and people buy off people. We always talk about that. And it's, you go and do deals with people, you talk to people. And I use the example of my golf, family man, 2 boys, 7 and 4, golf and dyslexic and Villa fan. was passionate about being a Villa fan last year, not so much this year because we've started so badly, but we'll move on with that. But we talk about that in the right ways. And like with the golf, I use an example is where it works well for my personal brand is we had a lead that came into the office from LinkedIn. And the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, how's the golf?" And then he turned around and was like, "Actually, I've never met you before in my life. I'm only asking you this because I see your post on LinkedIn." And it made me ask that. So where I talk about that people by people is that element. But they got in touch with us because we talked about marketing and thought leadership and LinkedIn, and it got them to think, yeah, I want to reach out to Paul the Pim. So kind of where we talk about LinkedIn and personal branding, there's such a big opportunity out there for businesses, especially in the B2B space, about creating opportunities and getting your brand out there and telling that story. As I go back to the start, tell the story in the right way. Instead of it being from the business, it can be the owner or director or sales director or the right people in the business to tell that story about the business and make people go, yeah, I want to go and speak to them, or I want to see if there's an opportunity to do any business together. It comes from that.
Okay. So mentioned I've been on holiday this week, so put almost nothing out on LinkedIn, so done very little to promote my personal brand, which I guess leads in, you mentioned earlier about AI, and you hear so much about AI. So how would you propose, or what are your thoughts on AI? And we obviously hear that LinkedIn do their utmost to prevent AI being used, so I'm not going to be able to use AI to post something every day when I'm not really paying attention. But where can we use AI, and how can we use it to help in marketing and life?
Yeah, I'm a massive believer of AI. I think there's so much opportunity. We've done quite a few social videos, which we're just releasing out at the minute and talking about the opportunity around AI. You can go to market with a business now within 24 hours. It's incredible, really, because you can create a brand, a website within a few prompts. And if used right, it can be really beneficial to you. Everything I talk about in AI, though, is you've got to have a human in the loop. I think too many people think out there, oh, AI can just go and do it. Always have that human in the loop in what you do. And I think that'll be a common phrase that a lot of people will start to use in the next 2-3 years. And what I mean by that is it could be, okay, what we do, for example, and where we try and help streamline how we deliver work for clients and how we do it, is to give ourselves more thinking time. And thinking time is the most important part. If you can think more, you can get better results for clients. But it's like that LinkedIn post, for example, we'll get the ideas of what we want to do, craft a bit of a post, let AI give us 2 or 3 options back and go, what do you think of this? How do you think this? And then we review it again as a human before we take it to a client. So it's using, and that can be used across different ways. I talk with one of our clients that we help streamline their data analysis is a good one, is that there are 3 different locations, 45 minutes every morning to look at those revenue numbers and work out what's going on, how well did the business do each out those 3 locations. We've used AI for them to then analyze those 3 locations, tell a story back to them. So every morning they read the story, they know where to go look straight away. And instead of it being 45 minutes, it's taking them 10 minutes because the data's there for them. Suddenly they've now got 35 minutes back to think about business strategy and beyond the business, not in it. So when I talk, but again, it still needs a human in the loop for them to look at those numbers and just go over it, not just be like, oh yeah, they look good, let's move on. They still have 10 minutes just to check over them and go, yeah, I'm all happy. That looks right. So where we talk about AI is that it can be used for sales from an email outreach point of view. It can be used from a LinkedIn creating content. It can be used from looking at data analysis. But it always needs that human in the loop in the right way. So when we go to clients and we build out we do a lot with clients across this, where we do the full service digital marketing delivery for clients, but alongside it, we go in and help support them and create AI and automations within their business to streamline, ultimately to save them time, to have more time thinking of the business, or try and create more revenue opportunities for them. It's just understanding where their pain points are and where it's going. So we just try and understand where you can use it in the right way. But I always just come back to everything that we try and do with clients, how we do it ourselves as well, is having that human in the loop of that process. So it's normally having someone senior think about the strategy, the ideas. You can use AI to support you in the right way, and then close it off with the human to finish is the structure that I normally talk to clients about.
Okay, that sounds very much you using it as a tool, and you say the tool for a human and checked with a human, where sometimes possibly less so now, but there was a period of time where you saw people sort of almost cheating with AI, giving AI a task to go and do and finish, and you could smell it, you could spot the baddie written AI stuff and the AI approaches you're getting.
100%. I talk about it all the time. I think people can smell it from a mile off now. And I think I use a good example is someone put a chatbot on their website and use AI on it, and you'd be like, oh yeah, it worked. And then people go and use it, and customers or prospects use it and get really annoyed with it because they're like, I just want to speak to a human because it's really rubbish. But those people aren't looking at that chatbot. So when I talk about a human in the loop, it's like, well, every week go and look at those conversations and go, did those conversations make sense? If they didn't, add more things into AI to make it better. How do you make that better to give a better user to the customer so they don't get frustrated? But what happens most times at the minute in the last 2 years, you just see a lot of people go, I'll put some AI in that and hope it works. And they don't go back and look at it. And then they forget that actually really annoys customers. And I think that's the biggest thing for the future at the minute is how you don't do lazy stuff with AI. And I think a lot of people are doing that without realizing. And that's where that human in the loop is so important in whatever you do.
Okay, cool. So I get a sneaky feeling I'm going to answer. I know the answer to the next question I'm going to ask you, but a question I normally ask as we sort of wrap things up is, many people are going to watch this during the weekend. So can I ask you what topic you enjoy talking about at the weekend? So if you're at a party, at a barbecue, at the pub, you're not sat in front of the computer on a Teams call, what do you talk to people about then?
I think you probably already know already. So golf, football with my lads, Villa. And I love AI, love tech, love latest technology, what's going on. I'll try and build it into the house and how we use certain stuff. But yeah, if anything, if you catch me in the pub, it's normally golf, football, or anything to do with AI technology is where I sit.
Sounds good to me. Possibly my wife's idea of hell, but hey, I'm probably keen you don't talk to her in the pub anyway, so don't worry.
I know, similar to my wife as well. She's just, again, I think sometimes I talk to her and I can see her looking at me going, just shut up now. Can we talk about something else, please?
It is indeed. It's traditional to ask as the final sort of major question that's on the list of questions. What have you got planned, or what do you hope to achieve in the next 12 months? And that can be business, personal, whatever. So in 12 months' time, what would you like to have ticked off on the list?
In 12 months' time, we've got a few big milestones, to be fair, but I think I've kind of set out a PTP 1.5 where we want to get to the next level. So we've had a really good growth this year. So for me, from a business level, by the end of next year, it's kind of aggressive, but we want to try and get 40% growth next year. So we've had 30% this year. So it's a tough world out there, and I always say that, but I'm kind of like, actually, you can make your own world as well. So we've got real ambitious targets to try and get there next year and where we want to get to, I think, which is exciting. Family world, I got a 7 and 4-year-old, and my other half, Lucy, we've been engaged for 5-6 years. We finally said we're going to get married next year. So we're going to get married next July. So we're excited for that. And I think that's the exciting part. But I think for me, the next 12 months kind of sits with like business, family life. I always talk a lot. There's one book I love, which is 5 Types of Wealth. And it's about getting the five types of wealth around you, right? And for me, I think the next 12 months is just in having the flexibility in being able to grow the business where we want, but have the flexibility to really enjoy that family time. My kids being 7 and 4, everyone I talk to at the golf club, everyone's been through it, who've been through it, have talked about it, about enjoying those moments with those kids at this age. So I'm trying to get the balance right that I can watch them enjoy their football, golf, and all that sort of thing while trying to do the business. So, which is the hardest thing in the world from what I hear from everyone. But I think that's my number one goal, is trying to get that balance right. And hopefully my lad's been to 2 Villa games, watched them lose both times. So hopefully in the next 12 months, he'll be able to get to a game and watch them win for the first time. I think that would be the good.
There we go. So how do people find out more about Pull the Pin, and how do they maybe follow you? Or we talked about LinkedIn, so how do they find you on LinkedIn? How do they contact you?
Yeah, I think we're at pullthepin.agency. We're on LinkedIn, the business page. Connect with me. I'm always over for a chat, always helping to advise people. And if an opportunity comes off at the end of it, great. But I'm there to have chats with people, support people, give advice, what I've learned over the years. So please don't hesitate to contact me and drop me a message, and we'll be there to help, try to help whoever we can.
Okay, excellent. So before I sign off and say thanks, do you have a final sentence, question, thought to share with the audience this week?
I mean, the final thought question, or final thought for me would be, what I say to everyone out there is, don't be afraid to try and test with AI in how you use it and what you do. It can be incredible, but just get the advice on how to use it, and make sure you pay for a paid version so you've got the security set up in the right way. But yeah, it's such a powerful tool. Don't be afraid to try and use it, and it will help save time. And just try and test stuff, and what I always say.
Sounds like good advice. So thanks very much, Sam, for being a guest. It's very much appreciated. You've given us, a few of us, I think, a few things to do and to think about. So that's not a bad way for an episode to come out. I will wrap up by saying to people, if you'd like to get in touch with the show, if you've got a comment, a suggestion, or particularly if you'd like to appear in a future episode, please email us at inquiries@mtdcnc.com or contact myself, Stuart Whitehead, or Joe Reynolds. I wish you a good weekend. Have fun. Cheers.